Brandon's been my son forever, seems like. Although he's my stepson, I still love him like he's my blood.
Reba McIntyre breaks her silence on Brandon Blackstock's death 1 week after losing his battle with cancer.
Her name is Brittney Marie Jones, and she's Kelly's former production assistant. The under-the-radar relationship was revealed in Brandon's obituary posted online, calling Brittney, seen here on Facebook, his beautiful and loving partner in life and business.
Was Kelly Clarkson's ex, Brandon Blackstock, dating her former assistant before he died?
Brandon and I are hustling, definitely around the ranch, trying to make it happen. And I 100%, none of this would be happening without my partner in crime.
Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, Brandon Blackstock's obituary revealed that he was in a loving relationship with his ex-wife's former assistant. The tribute reads, Brandon, along with his beautiful and loving partner in life and business, Brittney Marie Jones, started building a life, building companies, and working tirelessly to create Headwaters Livestock Auction.
The official cause of death for Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, Brandon Blackstock, has been revealed. In initial reports regarding his death, it was revealed that Blackstock, who was previously married to the singer and daytime talk show host, died of cancer. On Monday, the coroner's office announced that Blackstock died of melanoma, a form of skin cancer that had been present for 3 years.
The tribute also revealing Brandon had moved back to Big Sky Country, saying he found a homestead and a love in Butte, Montana. Brittney reportedly worked for Kelly from 2016 to 2018, then for both Kelly and Brandon until 2020, when Kelly filed for divorce.
That's the headline popping up all over after Brandon's obituary surfaced online, noting he found a homestead in Montana alongside his beautiful and loving partner in life and business, Brittney Marie Jones. She's the managing director of Brandon's livestock auction company and has seemingly been misidentified as the American Idol winner's one-time assistant.
And what will live on as his legacy, the Valley View Rodeo in Bozeman, Montana. Blackstock died after a private battle with melanoma. According to Brittney Marie Jones's LinkedIn, she served as the original American Idol winner's assistant from 2016 to 2020.
The professional talent manager died August 7th at the age of 48. He reportedly died at home under hospice care surrounded by loved ones. His death was initially announced by Blackstock's management company Starstruck, which was founded by his father, in a statement posted to its Instagram account. Brandon bravely battled cancer for more than 3 years. He passed away peacefully and was surrounded by family. We thank you for your thoughts and prayers and ask everyone to respect the family's privacy during this very difficult time.
Despite the relationship, Kelly was there for Brandon during his private melanoma battle.
I am grateful to everyone who has been a part of this journey.
Back in March, she returned to her talk show after taking time off to support her cancer-stricken ex and delivered this emotional on-air message.
It was supposed to be a simple, heartfelt farewell, a life summed up in a few paragraphs, honoring Brandon Blackstock as a devoted father, respected talent manager, and loved member of one of country music's most connected families. But instead, his obituary became the spark for a new conversation. Brandon, who passed away on August 7th after a private fight with melanoma, had kept his inner circle small. Reba McEntire's tribute, Kelly Clarkson's cancellations, these were the visible parts of his farewell. Yet tucked inside those official memorial lines was a revelation. For the last several years, Brandon's closest companion was Brittney Marie Jones, a woman the public knew best as Kelly Clarkson's former assistant. Together, they built a Montana-based business empire away from the limelight, far removed from the industry drama that once defined him. The story everyone thought had ended is now opening into a whole new chapter, one that raises more questions than it answers. Once the initial shock faded, more details began to surface about how Brandon Blackstock spent the last chapter of his life, and they painted a picture far removed from the high-profile Hollywood and Nashville circles he once navigated. After years as a talent manager for artists like Blake Shelton, and of course, managing Kelly Clarkson during much of their marriage, Brandon traded the red carpets and backstage passes for a different kind of arena. In 2022, following his divorce from Kelly, he relocated full-time to Montana. There, he invested heavily in rural business ventures, co-founding Headwaters Livestock Auction and running Valley View Rodeo events.
It's a Hollywood family tree. Reba was married to Brandon's dad, Narvel Blackstock, for over 2 decades before they split in 2015.
It wasn't just a side hustle. It was a complete lifestyle shift. Reports confirmed that he and Brittney Marie Jones were not only partners in these businesses, but also shared a home on his $1.7 million ranch outside Butte. Friends say Montana gave Brandon a sense of peace he hadn't found in years. Away from the press and the industry's relentless pace, he was able to focus on his 4 children, Savannah and Seth from his first marriage, and River and Remington with Kelly Clarkson. According to local sources, he kept his public appearances minimal, focusing instead on school events, community gatherings, and low-key weekends with family. But the biggest revelation is how private his health struggle remained. Even as his melanoma diagnosis progressed, there were no official updates, no social media posts hinting at the fight he was waging. Industry colleagues were left stunned that someone so well-connected could keep something so significant completely out of the press. And now, with the obituary confirming Brittney's role in his life, many are reassessing how little was known about this period. It's one thing for a celebrity to step out of the limelight, it's another to build an entirely new identity in its absence. The question now is, how did this secret relationship and life away from the spotlight go unnoticed for so long? And the answer may say more about Brandon's personality than any headline ever could. Next, we'll get into Reba McEntire's reaction and why her tribute carried far more weight than anyone realized at first glance. When the news of Brandon Blackstock's passing broke, it was Reba McEntire's words that cut through the noise. The country icon, who had once been Brandon's stepmother during her decades-long marriage to Narvel Blackstock, didn't flood social media with paragraphs or staged tributes. Instead, she kept it short, almost understated, a public message under her son Shelby's post, reading, "Very well said, Shelby. Yes, we will miss him so much." But that was only the surface. Days later, on her own Instagram, she posted a carousel of personal photos, snapshots of Brandon smiling at family events, candid moments from years past, paired with a caption that instantly resonated with fans. His struggle is over, and he is in eternal peace in God's presence. There is no one else like him. Rest in peace, cowboy. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
Despite divorcing, their bond stayed strong.
I'm praying for them.
Just days after Brandon's death, Reba broke her silence on Instagram, leaving a touching comment on son Shelby's tribute to his late brother.
For those who know Reba's history, these words carried a deeper weight. She had stepped into Brandon's life when he was still a young boy, treating him like her own even after her marriage to Narvel ended in 2015. Industry insiders say that while they weren't in constant contact in recent years, there was always a quiet bond, the kind that doesn't disappear just because family structures change. What makes this tribute even more poignant now is how it aligns with the newly revealed details from Brandon's obituary. Many in Reba's circle confirm she wasn't aware of the full scope of his relationship with Brittney Marie Jones until after his passing. For her, this meant grieving not only the man she'd helped raise, but also realizing there was an entire chapter of his life she hadn't been part of. It's that mix of love, loss, and a touch of regret that gave her message its emotional power. She didn't just lose someone connected to her past, she lost a part of her own story, one that had evolved quietly without her knowing. And while Reba's tribute was heartfelt, it wasn't the only public reaction turning heads. Kelly Clarkson's response, and the actions she took immediately after hearing the news, told an entirely different side of this story. For Kelly Clarkson, the news of Brandon Blackstock's passing wasn't just the loss of a former spouse. It was the reality that her 2 youngest children had just lost their father. Their history together was anything but simple. From the whirlwind romance that led to their 2013 wedding, to years of working side by side in the music industry, to a high-profile and bitter divorce finalized in 2022, the relationship had seen some of the most public highs and lows imaginable. Yet when she learned of his condition in those final weeks, sources say Kelly's focus shifted instantly. The past arguments, the legal disputes, the custody battles, none of it mattered compared to the moments her kids could still have with their dad. That's why she made the unexpected decision to cancel her appearance at the Band Together Texas benefit concert, a high-profile event she'd already committed to. Officially, the statement simply cited personal reasons. But insiders close to the situation confirmed she wanted to be fully present for River Rose and Remington.
Very well said, Shelby. Yes, we will miss him so much, along with a string of broken heart and praying hand emojis.
In private, Kelly reportedly rearranged her schedule entirely so the kids could have time with Brandon, away from the cameras and without the intrusion of media coverage. Those who saw the visits described them as low-key and gentle, giving the children space to process what was happening in their own way. Kelly ensured there were no staged moments, no publicity, just real family time. For someone used to life under a spotlight, this was a deliberate choice to keep the focus on what truly mattered. What stands out is how quickly she acted. According to friends, there was no hesitation, no weighing of professional obligations against personal priorities. She simply stepped back from her career for that moment and centered everything around the kids. And while Kelly didn't make a grand public statement about Brandon's passing, her actions spoke volumes. It was a quiet show of respect for the man she once loved, and above all, an act of love for her children. But while Kelly's response was marked by restraint and privacy, the wider family dynamic around Brandon's passing wasn't without its complications, and whispers of tension began to surface almost immediately. Even in moments of shared grief, family histories have a way of making themselves felt. In the days following Brandon Blackstock's passing, subtle signs of tension began to emerge. They weren't the kind of public blow-ups that make tabloid headlines. This was quieter, more complex. According to those close to the situation, questions arose about who had been informed about Brandon's illness, when they learned, and how much they were told along the way. Some relatives felt the news had been kept in too tight a circle, limiting their chances to visit or offer support. Others believe this was exactly how Brandon wanted it: private, controlled, and free from the complicated dynamics that often follow blended families. As one insider put it, there were too many wounds and not enough time to heal them. Reba's circle, for example, admitted she wasn't fully aware of the severity of Brandon's melanoma until it was nearly the end.
She followed that up with a post on her own page, writing, "There is no one else like him, and I'm thankful for the time we had together. His legacy and laughter will be carried on through his family. Rest in peace, cowboy."
For her, that meant the opportunity for long, unhurried goodbyes simply wasn't there. Similarly, some extended family members were blindsided by the obituary's mention of Brittney Marie Jones, realizing only then just how central she had been in his life. Adding to the sensitivity, this wasn't just about personal relationships. It also touched on shared history, business ties, and public perception. The Blackstock family had long been interwoven with the music industry's biggest names, and the way Brandon's final chapter unfolded didn't fit the narrative many thought they knew. At memorial gatherings, friends noted an undercurrent, a sense that while everyone was united in honoring Brandon, there were unspoken questions hanging in the air. Why had some been kept at a distance? Why had key parts of his life been so carefully shielded? And yet, for all the mixed feelings, one reality remained inescapable. Whether they'd been part of his daily life or estranged by years and circumstances, everyone was now mourning the same man. But for Reba, the pain was about to deepen, because just as she was trying to process Brandon's loss, another devastating blow was waiting around the corner. Just when Reba McIntyre was beginning to steady herself after losing Brandon, another shock hit, one that blindsided her completely. Only weeks after saying goodbye to her former stepson, Reba received the devastating news that Roger Eaton, her longtime tour manager and trusted friend of more than 3 decades, had died suddenly from a cardiac event. For the public, Roger's name might have appeared only occasionally in liner notes or backstage credits, but for Reba, he was family. They had weathered the highs of sold-out tours and the lows of unimaginable tragedy together, including the infamous 1991 plane crash that claimed the lives of 7 of her band members. Roger was one of the few who survived that dark chapter, and over the years, Reba often credited his resilience as one of the reasons she found the strength to keep performing when she wanted to quit. Losing him now, so soon after Brandon, felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Friends close to Reba said the timing of the 2 losses, back-to-back and deeply personal, left her emotionally drained. It wasn't just grief, one source shared. It was the crushing realization that 2 of the people who had shaped her life the most were gone within weeks of each other.
Back to that Hollywood family tree, it continues to expand. Brandon was previously married to Kelly Clarkson.
In the wake of Roger's death, Reba quietly stepped away from public life. She canceled press appearances, postponed several commitments, and retreated to her ranch in Tennessee without offering public explanations. Privately, she called it a sacred pause, a deliberate step away from the industry noise to give herself space to breathe, reflect, and grieve without cameras watching. During this retreat, Reba reportedly deleted social media apps from her phone, stopped answering non-urgent calls, and spent her days in near solitude. She filled notebooks with personal reflections, writing letters to Brandon, to Roger, and even to herself. But this wasn't the end of her story, because in the stillness, she found something she hadn't expected, a reason to return to the stage, and a way to honor them both that would move not just her, but everyone who heard it. When Reba McIntyre finally stepped back into the public eye, it wasn't for a glitzy award show or a high-profile TV interview. Instead, she chose something far more intimate, a benefit concert for cancer research, held in Brandon Blackstock's honor. Dressed in a simple black outfit, her only sparkle coming from a rhinestone belt catching the stage lights, Reba took her place before the crowd. The song she chose, Back to God, had been part of her repertoire for years. But that night, her delivery was different. Her voice trembled on the opening lines, her eyes glistened under the spotlight, and for the first time in her decades-long career, she allowed herself to cry openly while singing. Audience members described the performance as unlike anything they'd seen from her, raw, unfiltered, and deeply personal. Every note felt like a conversation with Brandon and Roger, each lyric carrying the weight of two losses still fresh in her heart. Friends later revealed that in the weeks before the show, Reba had experienced a vivid dream. In it, she was on a stage, and both Brandon and Roger appeared. Brandon handing her a microphone, Roger handing her a guitar. Then, without a word, they stepped into the light and were gone. She woke up knowing exactly what it meant. She still had something to sing for. The benefit concert wasn't just a performance, it was a turning point. Industry insiders began hearing whispers about her working on her most personal album to date, rumored to be titled Scar Tissue and Stardust, alongside a possible memoir. Both projects, sources say, would explore love, loss, and the fragile threads that hold families and friendships together. Reba also found subtle ways to remain connected to Brandon's children. She's been spotted quietly attending school events for River and Remington and sending handwritten notes, a reminder that love doesn't vanish just because relationships change. Her return to the stage showed the world that while grief might change the shape of someone's life, it doesn't erase the music, the love, or the stories still left to be told. For weeks, the focus had been on Brandon Blackstock's passing, the quiet dignity of his final years, and the ripple effect it left on those closest to him. But as the dust began to settle, the revelation from his obituary, his life with Brittney Marie Jones, began taking on a larger significance. To the outside world, Brittney had been a background figure, known mainly as Kelly Clarkson's former assistant during the years when Brandon and Kelly were still married. Few imagined that, after the divorce, she would become such an integral part of Brandon's personal and professional life.
A close friend of both Reba and Reba's close friend, Dolly Parton.
Having just lost Carl, what advice do you have for Reba and Kelly as they kind of navigate this next chapter?
Together, they built more than just a home in Montana. They built businesses that reflected a deliberate step away from the entertainment industry. The Headwaters Livestock Auction and the Valley View Rodeo weren't vanity projects. They were community anchors, creating jobs and drawing locals together in a state where Brandon could live largely out of the public eye. For those who knew him, this was the most Brandon move possible, trading high-profile connections for something real, something lasting. It also explains why his final years were kept so private. The circle he and Brittney built was tight-knit, loyal, and protective, ensuring that even his serious illness stayed out of public view until the very end. In hindsight, it reframes the tributes from Reba, Kelly, and his children. It shows that while each knew a different side of him, they were all connected to the same core truth. Brandon valued genuine relationships over public attention. And while the public might have learned about Brittney only after his passing, those who were part of his Montana life saw her as central to his happiness in those last years. The fact that this relationship stayed out of the media until now isn't just surprising. It's rare in a world where celebrity news is almost impossible to contain. It's a reminder that behind even the most well-documented public lives, there are chapters no one sees until the book is closing. And as more people learn about this hidden chapter, it's clear it hasn't just changed the narrative of Brandon's final years. It's reshaped how his story will be remembered. Brandon Blackstock's life, especially in its final years, challenges the way we think about legacy. To the public, he was Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, a talent manager with deep ties to the country music world, and Reba McIntyre's former stepson. But the story that's emerged since his passing tells us something deeper, that the most meaningful chapters of a life aren't always the loudest or most visible. His final years in Montana, away from the glare of award shows and industry politics, show a deliberate choice to build a life on his own terms. He invested in his community, nurtured his children, and cultivated a partnership with Brittney Marie Jones that stayed completely off the celebrity radar. In an age where every detail is broadcast online, Brandon's ability to keep that part of his world private until the very end is almost unheard of. Reba's tribute, Kelly's quiet but powerful actions, and his children's heartfelt words all reflect the same underlying truth. Brandon valued authenticity over optics. His life wasn't defined by the drama that once surrounded him. It was shaped by the people he chose to keep close and the legacy he built far from the cameras. And maybe that's why his story resonates so strongly now. It's a reminder that the measure of someone's life isn't in the headlines they make, but in the connections they protect, the work they invest in, and the love they leave behind. Even in a world obsessed with access and exposure, some stories are worth keeping close until the right time. And in Brandon's case, that time came only after his final goodbye. For Reba, for Kelly, for his children, and for Brittney, this isn't just the end of a chapter. It's a bridge between the life he lived and the way he'll be remembered. And for everyone else watching from a distance, it's a quiet but powerful lesson. Sometimes the most important parts of a story are the ones we never see until the end. If you found Brandon's story as moving as we did, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold stories, and share this video so his legacy lives on.